What is up, everybody? Thanks for checking out Hunt Shoot Live. I am super pumped about this episode, and I promise you that the video thumbnail was not just clickbait. A lot of you guys have probably been following my channel for a couple years and have seen the progression of my pellet rifle penetration videos, initially starting out on animal skulls and transitioning. Finally, I was able to do a test on a whitetail deer and on a black bear that had been freshly killed that day, within an hour or less of when I actually did the test with the pellet rifle. Get tons of comments, tons and tons of comments as a result of that, about interest in a pellet rifle's ability as a personal defensive weapon. So I want to talk about some stuff and I want to share some thoughts, but I'll do all of the fun stuff first. You can see here that I have not just the Gamo Swarm Magnum Gen 3i in the 17 cal. That's my personal air rifle. Done several other videos on that. Check out our air rifle playlist if you haven't already. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've got tons of stuff, tons of pellet rifle stuff and other videos. But you can see before you here that I have a massive variety of things. I first off have a variety of weaponry. So I've got an old Smith & Wesson revolver here, even though that's a large frame. It's a J frame. I've got that chambered in .22 long rifle. Also, you'll see here I have my Glock 43 chambered in 9mm. I have got a single shot 12 gauge. I have got a baseball bat. I have got a machete. I have a ball peen hammer and a axe and what's more like a hatchet, a super heavy hatchet. We're going to destroy some stuff, and the stuff that we're going to destroy is also what you see here. These beautiful cantaloupes. Hopefully I don't destroy them all too bad. I would like to eat a little bit of cantaloupe. I just purchased those this morning. You'll see here that I have procured some empty whiskey bottles. There will be no drinking during the making of this video, but a lot of drinking went into getting these bottles empty. You'll also notice that behind me there is a car door with a glass in it. And finally, there is a bear skull. Now we're going to do various things with each of these different weaponries, demonstrating different levels of their destructive capabilities. Then we're going to sit down and talk about it. We'll talk about the results, and I'll share my personal thoughts about the whole situation. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I know I'm going to enjoy it big time. So let's start off with the car door. I'm going to take the Gamo Swarm Magnum and take just a couple shots at the door itself. Now, I actually already did a door penetration test, so we sort of know what this is going to do. But again, this is about comparison with other things at the same range. We're about 3 or 4 yards here, you know, dang close, up and tight, like you would be in your house in a personal defense situation, in a parking lot if somebody's coming at you. So we're dang close, 3 or 4 yards. So I'll take 2 shots with this. I'm going to take 2 shots at the door, and we're going to take, at least we'll see what happens when we shoot at the glass. Take 2 shots if it'll tolerate it, and then we'll get some other weaponry out and see what happens. So let's try the Gamo Swarm Magnum here on the car door itself. Poked a hole in it, much to be expected. Try again, right above that one. All right, let's go have a closer look. Okay, looks like we've got one penetration and one did not. point blank range. I should note I'm using hollow points. These are the same hollow points I've used in several videos with the Gamo here. It groups well with them. And I'm also choosing a hollow point instead of something that just penetrates like a hornet, because we're talking about self-defense here. You don't want to poke holes. You want the thing that causes trauma. What causes trauma from a pellet or from a bullet is that it rapidly expands and the speed stops. So if you're using something like a hornet, yes, it's going to penetrate, but it pokes holes. I'll talk more about that and share some experiences from hunting with full metal jackets. But so for all of this, I'm going to be using hollow points, even in my my 9mm when I shoot it. And in these, I've got just flat nose lead bullets. Well, let's see if we did anything in the back. No, nothing in the back. Which that was to be expected. My other test that I had done with the car door, we knew that it wouldn't pass all the way through. But okay, let's take a shot at the glass and see what happens. Same range, point blank. Well, 3 yards. Well, all right. I guess we won't be shooting it twice. Not with the pellet rifle, anyway. So that was obviously pretty effective. Shooting through glass, no problem. We've shattered the rest of it. I want to shoot the glass with the 12 gauge before it's gone. I just want to up close just blast that crap out. So I'm going to get the 12 gauge next, and that's just totally for fun. Okay, just 12 gauge at the glass. Kicks and giggles here. For the purposes of my testing today, I'm going to use just a 2 3/4 inch number 6 shot. This is not low brass number 6 shot. Certainly in your house for home defense, you could use low brass, but just know for the purposes of this, I am using like a mag load 2 3/4 inch 12 gauge. Let's put a couple in the door. Obviously, we're done with the glass. Not much else I can do with that, but let's put a couple more in the door. We'll go to the Smith & Wesson 22. This is a 22 long rifle. Just going to take 2 shots. Okay, as would be expected. Of course, here's our the shot with our 17. Here is both of the shots with the 22 long rifle. And one of them did pass completely through. They did not both pass through, but one of them did. Next up, my personal carry, one of my favorites, the Glock 43 and 9mm. I'm using a hollow point for this because this is a defensive test. So same range, right on top of it. Put a couple in it. There we go. Got some size to those bad boys. There's our 22s and 17s. So we got the 17, 22 long rifle, 9mm, and we did have both. Both were complete pass-throughs, and you can see quite a bit bigger of a hole there than what the 22 left. And finally, I'm going to put the 12 gauge on the metal of the door itself. I'm going to put this just under the door handle. That was... Interesting. That was a dud. That just sprayed shot at it. Let me give you a close-up of that. Oh my gosh. I was bracing for that to knock the crap out of me. That didn't penetrate anything. That's no penetration at all. Just a dent. Man, that's a point that we're going to talk about later. You can't expect maximum lethality out of the weapon you're using. And that's a reason to always scale up when you can. Like with the pellet rifle, You can't expect that that person's going to come at you. You're going to put one perfectly between their noggin and they're going to be down and out and it's all over with. You can't expect that. Might that happen? Maybe. You really have to expect that you're going to wing them in the arm and need a super quick follow-up shot. But we'll talk more about that in a bit. Okay, let's try that again. Same spot, right under the door handle. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect example of why the 12 gauge, even in 2 3/4 inch, is a fantastic option for home defense. Pump action or in a semi-auto. Yep. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay, let's see. What are we going to do next? I mean, I don't really want to knock my axes on a car door. We'll certainly take a swing with the hammer. We'll take a swing with the baseball bat. All right, so I got a ball peen hammer. I got a metal baseball bat. I'm gonna take a swing at them. The reason that I wanted to include these is because I think both are very relevant to this conversation of personal defense. Because as I alluded to with the bullet and the trauma instead of just the penetration, it's not just about shooting a pellet at something or shooting a bullet at something or hitting something. It's how hard the thing that you are shooting at them hits them and what happens after it hits them. Certainly with the case of a bat or a hammer, you have every single bit of the energy that you are transferring that stops bluntly on that force. So I'm going to wager that this is going to put a pretty major dent in the door. Now, mind you, I'm a 240-pound, 6-foot-tall man that lifts weights all the time. So I'm probably going to cause more damage than a little old lady. I would really encourage the little old lady to carry some type of handgun or a low brass shotgun. But still, I don't want a little lady hitting me with a bat. I would, if a gun is absolutely out of the question for the little old lady, I would probably encourage her to go with the machete, which I'm also not going to hit on this. But anyway, we'll talk later. Let's hit this bad boy. So yeah, I hit it right here. Actually, you can see the whole outline of the bat there. Let's crack it with the hammer. Got a reasonable sized ball peen hammer here. I don't know the weight. Maybe a 2-pound, 3-pound. It's at least a 2-pound hammer. Try to see me nail it right here. All right, here we go. Have an up close right there. Pretty good. Right beside of our 17, one penetration and one knot. Something else that we can't take for granted with both the bat, weapons like the bat or the axe or the hammer, is just because I've swung once and knocked him down and I can, immediately that was all in the time that I could not have cocked that pellet rifle again. I didn't initially say I was going to do this, but I have this Smith & Wesson 329 PD in 44 Magnum. Look at that beast. What a monstrosity. I have to shoot this car door with this thing. So I'm just going to take one shot with the 44. Now, I know some old lady or an old man or a small woman is not going to keep a 44. Maybe they are. Maybe they're, frick yeah, America, baby. But it's probably not likely. But I just really want to shoot this door with my 44. So, let's shoot this door with my 44, baby. Check out the review I did on this 329 PD. This is their ultralight with the scandium frame and the titanium cylinder. This thing is fun. So let's look at the hole. 44 mag hole. There's our 9mm hole. It's kind of interesting. It looks like it's like the 9mm hollow point. Just you can see where it deformed immediately as it hit. It made a pretty wide wound channel, what we would call a wound channel, comparative to that 44. Very close. Interesting. And also interesting, that was a hollow point. You know, it busted through a super thick part of this door. But again, there's the 9mm. Who would have thought? On that, I have to wonder if it's not how close I was and how much energy that 44 is carrying. It just, maybe the bullet was just traveling too fast to perform correctly. Not sure. That's very interesting, though. Very interesting, because that was a hollow point in that. Well, let's move on. I guess let's go ahead and do something with the skull. Let's give the bear skull a try. Obviously, I won't be able to shoot this with everything. And save yourself all the comments about the dryness or the brittleness of the skull. I know, go back and watch all my other 100,000 videos and everybody that's all talked about that. And we've, you know, sure, we've talked about that. We're just looking at a comparison of damage here. So we'll start with the pellet rifle, then I'll do the 22. We'll see what's left, and I might try the 9mm. Same yardage, 3-4 yards. I'm actually going to shoot it again because I hit way low. I guess it's where I'm so close. I definitely wanted to hit higher. Still not as high as I wanted, but that'll be fine. Let's try the 22 now. That's working good. I'm kind of putting them in a line. We'll go ahead and do the 43. Glock 43 and 9mm, personal carry. Well, I hope you got a close enough look at the 22 because we put the 9mm right over top of that. Here was our two pellet rifle shots. That's the that's the 22 long rifle shot, and then that is the 9mm shot. And looks like one of them blew out the back right here. Maybe all of them did. I don't know. Again, we've done the skull stuff. I just had this skull left, old dry brittle skull, and just wanted to see what it would do as well. Well, let's crush it with the baseball bat, shall we? That's exactly what I expected. Now you might be saying to yourself, Dwayne, what does a whiskey bottle have to do with self-defense? Well, I don't know. I had them, and I thought it would be really fun just to see what would happen. So we'll just play it by ear. Of course, the 17 pellet rifle will be up first. We'll take a shot, see what happens, see what kind of damage we cause, and I've got two other bottles of similar size that we can try after that. So here we go. So right there's where I hit, right where I wanted. It did not exit, it doesn't appear. Ah, there it is. Yeah. Little bitty tiny flat piece. Well, obviously that bottle's done, so I suppose since I have two more, we'll do the 22 and then we'll do the 9mm. New bottle, 22 long rifle. Quite a bit bigger hole. And quite a bit more damage. Blew the entire back off, so no hope of finding the 22 round back here. Glock 43 9mm. Well, okay. I guess I expected something kind of like that, but not completely like that. Well, so there's what we've got left of the bottle after the 9mm shot. I have a little pickup on my bank back here. Put the tarp under it, but that doesn't help too much when it explodes like it's got a hand grenade in it. So let me clean that up, and we're going to break out some cantaloupe. I really did my best to select cantaloupes that were the same size. So all 4 of these should be super, super close. So same range, 3-4 yards-ish. I'm just going to take one shot with the 17 cal Gamo Swarm Magnum Gen 3, and we'll dissect it. And take a shot at the other one with the 22, the 9mm, and I don't know what we'll do with the 4th one. We'll see. I mean, I think probably the car door demonstrated what I was trying to show with the bat, so I hate to just smash a melon with the bat. It will totally destroy it, so I don't know why I would want to do that, but I don't know, maybe I'll just eat the 4th melon. So 17 cal. Check that out. That's very cool. I can't wait to dig into that and see what it looks like. Oh, and that is awesome. It is stuck in the backside. How cool. Well, we are definitely going to dig that out. Cut that in half really carefully and dig that out. Let's try the 22. Cantaloupe with the 22 long rifle. Similar split, and I don't know if I can angle that for you. I can see light all the way through it. And there we go, complete pass through. You can see through the other side there. Ooh, wow. Yeah, I reckon. Dang. 22 long rifle. It's a heck of an exit out the back of the old melon. Cantaloupe versus the Glock 43 9mm. Well, I don't think I have to walk around to the back of that one to show you what took place there. That, of course, was the 9mm with the hollow point. Oh yeah, jeez. Let's dig into the melons. I've got, obviously, this is the 9mm, blew in half. I've got the one that I shot with 22 right here, which has a pretty pronounced exit hole in it as well. And then got the pellet rifle right here with the pellet that's protruding out of the back. So let me dig that out before we lose it and show that to you guys. So even hitting that soft cantaloupe, really flattened out. So what you're seeing here is the entrance of it. Blew it apart. You see it very, very quickly. Lost energy, caused just a little bit of disruption right there. And by the time it came out the other side, here's the interesting part. So right here is the exit. There's no deformation there. I guess it, it just expended what energy it had initially and then cut through the back with what it had left. And as you saw, it didn't even have enough energy to get back out the backside of it, whereas the 22 did. Here was the entrance on the 22 and then a massive, massive exit on the back. So we had the opposite. And looks like you see it when you look at ballistics gel, if you'll notice. So here's where it entered, and then here's where it, of course the other side's where it exited. So you've got a kind of a V where the pressure, the force of that expansion continued to cause more trauma as the bullet expanded and pushed forward, and then obviously it blew out the back before it expended all of its energy. So significantly more trauma just in stepping up to the 22 long rifle. I don't have to do much dissecting on that one. It's pretty clear cut. Well, that was about as much fun as I've ever had filming a video. Usually I'm just coming out with the purpose of, here's the topic, I got to get this thing done, but that was just absolutely loads of fun. And I actually filmed the outro segment, and I talked for a long time, and I thought about that last night. So this is a different day, and I want to try to keep my point as succinct as possible, because there's no need to just repeat all kinds of stuff and hash through all of the variables and all of the scenarios. I think what this showed, and so first off, certainly I had the axe, and I did hit with the hammer some on the door and hit with the baseball bat, but I had that axe, I had that hatchet, and we didn't do a lot with that. The machete, I didn't do a lot with that. Well, the reason is it is very obvious to know what those things will do if you hit something with it. They are, in the machete's case, it is light and it is super sharp, and you can swing it fast and many times, and it's gonna cut deep, massive cut. That is deadly. It is fast and it is super sharp. In the case for the hammer or for the bat, those are very hard, very rigid, and they're light enough that you can swing them multiple times, but they're heavy enough that they are going to cause some major damage. So the damage factor is there. The potential for repeated damage is there. As we use the pellet rifle, we use the 22 long rifle, we use the 9mm, we use the 12 gauge, you could see it should have been, I hope it was very obvious to you that there was a step up with each of those in their capability to cause maximum trauma. This is really the point of this video. I guess we ended up just sort of testing lethality in general about a lot of stuff, but this really, I had the pellet rifle in mind just because of the comments I get about the pellet rifle. It seems obvious to me, in comparison from this video, that the pellet rifle, though it can be lethal, it has potential to be lethal, its potential to be lethal is nowhere in comparison to, well, it's absolutely nowhere in comparison to what a 12 gauge could do. And this is more, I don't have I have pistols for my home defense weapon. This semi-auto 12 gauge, though it is long, probably if you're going to use a personal defense for your home, you would want a semi-auto 12 gauge that's shorter than this, more compact. But this semi-auto is a better representation than that single shot was for what an effective personal defense weapon would be, home defense weapon. But I use my pistols primarily. 9mm primarily is what I have for my home protection. I have several of those in a few different locations with that in mind. Now, let's look at damage potential and my whole point. Sum it up. Just because you can or could use something that might possibly be effective, that doesn't mean that there are not other things that are way more effective, and you should probably choose those things if your idea is to protect your family. Even in a situation when, and this reminds me of some comments that I had just a few weeks ago. Even if you're limited in your area and you're not permitted to have firearms, but you can have the pellet rifle, I'm going to argue that still your better option. Could you use the pellet rifle? Sure. Is it lethal? It is. But its potential for lethality is very specific. You've got to make a very specific shot, and that one shot is really probably going to have to do it, because if that individual continues to come at you to attack you, then that one shot's all you are going to get. Even if it hits a person other than in the brain, which that's going to be a hard shot to pull off in a tense situation like that. But even if you hit the person anywhere else, might they die? Very possible, depending on where you hit them, but it is not going to be immediate. There is a great potential that that person can continue to attack you. And I would argue, just based on, we did show myself hitting that door with that bat, hitting it with that hammer. Certainly, the machete would be the machete's even easier to wield than what the bat or the hammer is, because it's super light. And with that thing being sharp, I would choose any of those three. And you throw the axe in there. I would choose any of those three over a pellet rifle. The potential for maximum damage is significantly greater because you are not limited to one single use. And even if you got that one single use, if I hit you with the machete one time as hard as I can, there is a much greater chance that it's going to cause more damage than what one shot of this is going to be. Now, there's all kinds of scenarios we can talk about. I was just listening to Colin Noir's podcast just this week, and he had a gentleman on there who was an accomplished shooter. He shot all the time. He was very proficient with his 9mm. He ended up having to use it in a self-defense situation where he did have to take the life of the person attacking him. But even in that situation, with a loaded 9mm on his side, he tried to pull it out. It got hung up on his shirt. It slowed him down. He completely missed his first shot, and he ended up having to, I think he shot 8 shots and hit like 2 of them, something like that. So if that fella had and in that instance, the other individual had a gun. That's what prompted him to draw his gun. He saw that the other person had a gun getting ready to swing it around at him, and so he pulled his weapon. So had he had a pellet rifle, it would have been over. If he missed his one shot, like that gentleman missed the one shot with a 9mm, it would have been over. No chances for repeat. If he'd at least had a machete or a baseball bat, there would have been a chance for some repeat. Made kind of a little graph here to help illustrate my point. I think as a whole, you have to consider as a whole, you can't assume that you're going to get the maximum damage capability. What if you miss? What if you don't hit where you were aiming? What if you have a misfire? So you have, with all of that considered, it's a probability thing. What is the most reasonably probable to cause the most significant damage in a home defense situation and most likely to protect you? Well, that's going to be something like a semi-automatic, a shorter, compact, tactical, semi-automatic 12 gauge, or potentially an AR-15. With an AR-15, I know you want to consider your round very carefully, because you could very likely have pass-throughs and hit things or hit people that you are not intended to hit. But still, it's obviously very effective. You can put, in the case of an AR, you can get 130, you get 100 round drum magazine, you get a 30 round magazine, 12 gauges. I know there are 12 gauges that I did a review on one a few years ago. The name escapes me right now, but it had a 30 round mag that came with it. So, even in your standard tactical 12 gauge, I'm sure you're getting 8 or 12 loads in that thing. So 12 gauge is a top tier. I think 9mm probably under that. Certainly you could throw 40 cal in there. There's a lot of others that I didn't list on here, but I'm trying to demonstrate a point. 380 auto would be under that. It's smaller, and less capacity in a lot of situations. It's smaller than the 9mm, barrel shorter, accuracy is more of a problem. People will have a tendency to limp wrist those because the grip is so short, so you're more likely to have misfeeds. I actually left out the 22 long rifle. You could certainly plug that in under the 380. And then I feel like this is a pretty reasonable list from that point down. The Machete would be my next choice. Axe, bat, hammer, pellet rifle, knife, and then your hands. I think that's pretty well how that list should go. Again, I'm not trying to offend people who love pellet rifles. I really would not want that to be my only choice if that's what I had in a home defensive situation. I would prefer the hammer. The repeatability factor is the main thing there that I would choose the hammer. Certainly that damage potential is there. Now, you know, experience and practice plays a big role in where some of these are. An example might be if I have a knife, but my attacker is extremely proficient in martial arts, the knife may or may not help me. So again, that's another reason to have the best protection that you can possibly have, that you're permitted to have in your situation. Oh, and as far as things shifting in with even these, I would argue that my 9mm with hollow points is going to be more effective than an AR-15 with full metal jacket rounds. Those full metal jacket rounds poke holes. 9mm hollow points are going to expand and cause maximum trauma. And certainly there's a lot to talk about there, but just simply poking holes does not kill the individual immediately. Certainly not always. The probability thing here, your probability just poking a hole is way less of stopping that attacker than it is if you have the bigger projectile with the projectile that performs properly, or you've got your 12 gauge that's just a massive, going to blow a massive wound channel. And I guess that's another one of my problems with just the pellet rifle. Even with the hollow point like we had, you just don't have enough weight and speed in that little bitty projectile to cause the damage that needs to be caused. Might you take that person's life? Very possible, but I just think that they're still going to keep coming. You know, you can find stories of people who keep coming even though they've been shot with centerfire rounds. But I think by and large, the vast majority of all situations, you can't base your assumption or you can't base your opinion on the outlier situations. We have to base our opinions and our choices on the things that are most likely, and I think that this layout for preference of lethality is based on what is most likely. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed filming it. Very interesting topic. I know I'm going to have tons of comments, and I appreciate those. I welcome those comments. Let's have a good civil discussion about this. I'd like to hear your stories if anybody has ever had to use any particular thing for personal defense that's maybe a little out of the ordinary. But if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you as part of the Hunt, Shoot, Live team. Check out all of our playlists and everything else I've already got on the channel. Hundreds of videos on there, lots of shorts, got some pretty cool stuff, lots of different topics. As always, I appreciate you. God bless you. We'll catch you next time.